Hi, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at using the drum sampler combined with an arpeggiator to make some rhythmical, granular kind of tones and music rhythms effectively. Very simple. First of all, I'll show you how it works, the rack, and then as always, if you're interested, how you can build this rack for your own music. Let's have a look then what's going on and what we're using to make this rack up. It's actually quite a simple rack. Might look a little bit complicated to begin with, but it's very easy to put together. We have here an arpeggiator in one rack, and let's close this. Then we have a second rack here, which contains a drum sampler and an LFO. So this second rack is also integrated with these two racks here are integrated into a further rack here, which basically controls everything. That's the interface here, which has these 16 macros. So as I say, we have two racks combined into a third rack. Easy to do, not difficult. One contains an arpeggiator, one contains a drum sampler with an LFO, and then it's controlled from this front rack here. So let's just close this, we'll come back to this in a second. What do we have? We have the ARP, which you can hear playing now. We have control over this, it's called FX, it's a form of granular synthesis within the drum sampler where we can affect grain size. So combined with the arpeggiator we get these rhythms here. So we can play with the grain size until we find something we like. This is all this function here. We have a vocal sample playing in here. I've got some delay and reverb on it. We also can affect the stretch here. Which effectively removes this. But we can still manipulate the grain size here. But it's only once we introduce the stretch factor that we really start getting into the granular realm. Then we have a control here over the position of the start within this sample, so you can see the orange here. I move the start sample around. I can also, if I come down here, control the attack of the little grains, the hold, how long they hold for, and the decay. So we can turn this off. Introduce some hold, some decay. Then finally we have the LFO here at the back, or not finally, we have some other things going on. We have an LFO here, which is controlling where we're triggering the grains within this sample here. So I can drop the LFO depth down to 0, and we'll always play at one position. If I now move the start, we can find positions within the sample to do these arpeggiated rhythms. There's a gap there. And then with the LFO depth, we're effectively opening up where we hop around to, and that is controlled by the shape of our LFO. At the moment we have a sine, so we can control the rate of the LFO here. It's on 2 bars at the moment. I can speed it up, hop around more, increase the depth. 50% puts you, if you have 50% here and 50% here, then it will start in the center and hop from the center. We can change this to something like random. Let's go to a random shape. Hold on, wrong one. LFO shape here. We can change this. And now we have it hopping around in a random manner. Let's just drop the rate a bit. Go back to 2, that was quite nice. And so we have every 2 bars, it'll find a new position. Let's speed this up. Every quarter note now. So we can adjust our grade. We can change our ARP speed. Let's get a little bit more. Change our ARP speed. And then finally, we have a filter here. Just trim any of the tone we want to. Okay, this is the grain size here, and we have the ARP gate as well. This controls the length of the notes coming through the ARP. If we go to the ARP here, so we have a gate control here. We can adjust the ARP gate, and we can change the transposition. Let's see what we can do here in 1 second. Let's go back to a sine and change this. 1 second. Let's just change this back here to 2. Okay. So we can control the functions of the ARP here. We can transpose. And this is controlled by the number of steps here. This is this function here. So we can change the distance, which it'll delete by 12 semitones. And the number of steps is 2. We can increase that to. So we can get some real crazy stuff. The higher the transposition steps, the higher you'll go up through the pitches, or lower, depending. We can drop this down, compensate for that. Say, increase the length of the ARP gate, increase the ARP speed. Okay, all basic stuff. All basic stuff, really simple to set up. There's not much in it. It just looks a bit complicated because you have 2 racks within one rack, but I'll explain that when we build the instrument. Yeah, and an LFO. All very simple. If you want to swap your samples out, you can change them here. Just click here and then you get the possibility to swap your sample. I'll stick with this sample at the moment. Let's bring back a bit more volume perhaps. Okay. Yeah, so it's very simple. You can put any sample in here. Some work better than others. It's a little bit of experimentation going on. But it allows you to find these interesting rhythms. Some, of course, are a bit wacky. But some are quite nice. A little bit of reverb and delay, of course, or maybe perhaps a lot. Okay, then I'll show you how this is put together. Very simple, very easy to do. You can, if you can remember your samples, then you can also create snapshots for them. So I put the sample name here, vocal demo harmony, so I can recall particular settings for particular samples. Let's have a look how it's put together. It's very simple and shouldn't take too long. We'll need a couple of racks here. The first one I've left in here is the instrument rack. So if you go into your instrument rack, you just want to drag one of those in here. Now we're actually going to switch to, we'll drag this one in as well. We'll drag in a second one and we're going to put it into this rack here. And then we're going to go to the MIDI effects and we want to find a MIDI effect rack here. And we're going to drag that in between the two of them so that we have instrument rack, MIDI effect rack, instrument rack. The reason we have to use so many racks when we have so few effects is because we are using a combination of MIDI effect rack and instrument rack, and they can then be combined into a further instrument rack to make an instrument. That's why we have so many racks. We have these three here. Now we're going to go and drop into this while we're on the MIDI effect track. We'll drop an arpeggiator in here, just drop that in there, and then we'll go back to our instruments here. In the drum sampler here, we want to take a drum sampler and drop it into our instrument rack at the back here. Now, so we have our three racks. If we now click here on the drum sampler, we can open up the macros and we can start mapping things in a second, but we need one more effect here at the back, which is the LFO. So we're going to go into our audio effects now and take the LFO and drop it just after the drum sampler inside the rack here. That's it. So we have those in there now. We can set this one here to quantized rate, synced rate. We'll use that. And we'll set up our mappings and things now for the drum sampler and the LFO. Okay, so map this here to the start position of the drum sampler. So we map that one, click here, and select this start value here. And that's everything we need to set up for the LFO. We've got a bit of mapping to do, but we don't need to set up anything else. So now we can go through and we can map from here. We can map our attack to here, to macro 1, the hold to macro 2, the decay here. Then we have this start position here. We can map to macro 4. Going to need a couple more macros actually, so we open it up with these plus buttons. Then we have the rate, which is this one here on the LFO, and the depth of the LFO here. We'll take that one as well and map that here. Then we need the shape, which is our waveform shape here, this box. Map that at the bottom. Now we can come back to the drum sampler. We need the grain size here. Map that here. The stretch factor here, this one, we'll map on macro 9. Then we have also a built-in filter in the drum sampler, so we'll take the frequency here, map that here to 10, and the resonance we will map to 11. This one we can simply rename, leave that as blank. So that's set up. So we can close this up now, come out of the mapping, close this one, close that, we don't need those. We'll go to our MIDI rack now and we'll open that up the same way, click that here, and we will then map everything we need for the MIDI. We don't need so many here. We can just stick with 6 macros. And what we're going to map here we click the M, just says M. If we open it up it would say map, but as it's shrunk down it just says M, so we click on that and we want to take here the sync rate here and we'll map that one to number 1. We're going to take the transposition distance, this here distance, and map that to 2. Then we have the steps here, macro 3. The gate length here goes to macro 4. And the hold on this button here, we're going to map here. This one we can also rename. Let's put a little dash in there. Okay, so that's set up as well. We can come out of here and we can close that. So we just keep these open here, these macro racks, and we now go to the first instrument rack and open the macros here. And what we're going to have to do here then is open these all up. We're going to use all of the 16 macros and we'll click the map here on this rack and we will start by going through what we have here. So we have the ARP rate goes here, sync rate. The transposition distance we will map to macro 2. The steps here to macro 3. Then we have the gate here, the ARP gate, we'll map to macro 4. And finally this hold button here, we'll map that to macro 5. Then we can effectively close this now, this one, we don't need that anymore, and we're going to come here and we'll take our sample start, this one here, map it to macro 6, the stretch factor, which is down here, to macro 7, the grain size here to macro 8, then we have the attack on 9, the hold here, the decay on number 11, then we can map our LFO rate to 12, the depth to 13, the shape to 14, and finally the filter frequency to 15 and the resonance to 16. Now, I think the only macro setting I made was I reduced the filter resonance here to 85%. Don't think there was anything else. Oh, did that go? Yes, here it's moved it down. Okay, so that's sort of, and I changed some of the names here. I renamed it here. I called this one ARP rate, and this one I left it distance. This one I just went through and named a few of them. You can use your own names. I named this one ARP gate, ARP hold on, and let's try that one again. Okay, so yeah, so you can choose your own names. I then colored them as always. You can choose your color, things like that, set them up how you want, but that's basically it. Now it should work if we come out of here, come out of the mapping, put the volume back on, and then we need to go into our drum sampler and we need to drop a sample in here. So let's see if I can find a sample again. So we select this little icon here, and that allows us to choose an icon. Let's have a look. What do we have here? I had vocal, and I had the vocal demo. Let's try that one, so I can find that again. That one there. So I double click on that, and then that's put it in. I'd say if you want to change them, click that. If you want to change, you just select your icon again. So now if I put the, let's come out of there. If I put the volume on and then I put the ARP hold on, I should hopefully be able to play a note. Let's see if everything works okay. So we can change our ARP rate now. Have a look. Hide the macros with this button here. You can hide the macros here. And the LFO's at the back. So let's go through quickly, see if we can do everything. We can do our transpositions on the 7th. Let's see if our seems to be working. Can I change the start position here? See if the orange will move. We can see that the LFO is already having an effect on. So we have the hold and decay. They seem to work okay. We can reduce this down. I find this is better under 50%. But I will go to, I'll stay at about 50 and I'll change the shape of the LFO. Let's have a look at the LFO. What do we want? We're on a sine. See if go to random. Change that to an 8th. Okay. Seems to be working fine. Finally, you can save the rack by clicking this icon here, this disk icon. That will save the rack for you, and that will appear then in your user library, presets here, instrument rack. You'll find it in there. Okay, as I say, I hope this has been useful, and you can make use of this rack, have some fun, explore the weird world of Granular, and see you in the next one.